Okay. So Max is going to talk to us about some of his work at Arizona State University, but he is doing a sabbatical right
Yes.
now. So he is here on campus and has been. He's in Lily Hall. So if you're on campus and you want to talk to him after, he's around.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Max. I'm an assistant professor of pharmacology and toxicology at Arizona State University. I direct one of the two DEA Schedule 1 research lab at Arizona State. Uh, in Arizona, we have legalized medical and recreational cannabis. So what I'm going to be talking about today is mostly is related to cannabis. But some of the information is also relevant to hemp. Okay, so I want to start by giving my take-home messages. There are four. So first, environmental contaminant in cannabis represent a significant health risk, especially to medical patients. Second, exposure to pesticide, toxic element, solvent, microbe, and mycotoxin can result in neurotoxic effects and opportunistic infection. Third, there's a large discrepancy in how different states are regulating environmental contaminants. And in particular, further research are needed to examine fusarium species and also mycotoxin in cannabis. Okay, so in the past year, there's a lot of coverage in the media about cannabis safety issue. So what I'm showing here on the left-hand side are the story from Wall Street Journal and also New York Times. So both of them are talking about some of the safety issue that the legal cannabis is having. And on the right-hand side of the slide, I'm showing a report from the National Academy of Sciences coming out just a couple months ago, talking about not the impact of cannabis, but the impact of cannabis policy on public health and health equity. Now, I'm a toxicologist. I'm very interested in environmental contaminant because of the health concern to medical patients. So why is that an issue? Now, there are two reasons. So reason number one, patients who are using cannabis for medical reasons, including patients that have cancer or HIV infection, they may have immunodeficiency, and that make them prone to opportunistic infection. That can be very dangerous to the patient who are susceptible to infection. Now, there are also some contaminants that have neurotoxic effects. Now, when we talk about the neurotoxic effects of contaminant in cannabis, this is less understood. But the recent legalization in the US has been associated with increased emergency room visit in the US due to, and one of the main reasons is the vomiting syndrome. I don't know if how many of you have heard of cannabis hyperemesis, so some of you have. So this is also another reason why, for medical patients, the contaminant is an important health concern. Now, I also want to talk a little bit about the interest in cannabis use, particularly for medical cannabis use, with legalization. Now, what I'm showing here on the left-hand side, let me see. Okay, right here, okay, is the legality of cannabis use, comparing it from between 2019 to 2025, okay? So in the past 5-6 years, you can see that there is an increase in the legalization at state level for both medical and recreational use, okay? But one point that I want to bring up here is that the legalization of cannabis doesn't just increase the access of cannabis for the general public. It also increases the access for patients with certain health conditions, access for medical use. So what I'm showing here in the middle is the number of states that are listing Parkinson's disease as a qualifying condition. Okay, so qualifying condition is if you have a state level medical program, you usually would provide a list of conditions which would qualify the patient for getting medical cannabis. So these are the states that are listing Parkinson's disease as a qualifying condition for medical cannabis use. And you can see there's an increase, in the number of states here. And what I'm showing here on the right-hand side is cancer. Also, there's an increase in the number of states listing cancer as a qualifying condition. So we are talking about an increase in cannabis access, not just for the general public, but for patient or specific health condition. Now, when we talk about environmental contaminant, what do I mean by environmental contaminant? Now, there are 4 categories. The first category is pesticide. So pesticides such as chlorpyrifos is an insecticide, and also myclobutanol, which is a fungicide. The reason why we have conventional, we found pesticide in cannabis is because we do have pests, like any other agricultural crop, such as spider mite and powdery mildew. These are the common pests and fungus that you can find in cannabis. Another point that I want to add, and this is, in my view, is specific to illegal cannabis, is that sometimes pesticide can be added as spike, in illegal product. There's a study in 2015, this is a study in Brazil, showing that the herbicide paraquat is found as a dry weight ratio of 2.5%. So 2.5% dry weight ratio is 1 in 40. Okay, so this is not a small amount of chemical that we are talking about here. Now, another study, this is in 2023 by a group in Health Canada, showing that if you're taking the licensed cannabis in Canada, they tested 36 of them, and they only found 2 detection of pesticide. But in the illicit cannabis that they tested, 24 samples, 92% of them have detection of pesticide, as you can show here. So the contamination level of pesticide in illegal cannabis is much higher, than legal cannabis. Now, I also want to point out that pesticide is a very interesting class of contaminant in the sense that some of them can interact with the biological property of cannabinoid. Now, here what I'm showing is the postsynaptic retrograde signaling pathway for endocannabinoid. I think many of you in this room probably heard about this particular pathway. Like what I'm showing here, on the left-hand side is the insecticide chlorpyrifos. So basically, what chlorpyrifos can do, now this is an off-target effect, okay, for the insecticide in human, okay. So basically, what the chlorpyrifos can do, it can inhibit 2 specific enzymes, like serine hydrolase in the P and postsynapse. And basically, what it do is that it inhibit the degradation of endocannabinoid. Okay, so the endocannabinoid, the cannabinoid that are produced from the postsynapse, which keep staying in the synaptic cleft, it keeps stimulating the cannabinoid receptor. Okay, so this is the off-target effect of a pesticide. Now here, what I'm showing on the right-hand side is what if people are exposed to say delta-9 THC, the exogenous cannabinoid or phytocannabinoid, what it would happen is you have the cannabinoid hitting the receptor. So through 2 different mechanisms, both of the chemical, the insecticide and the phytocannabinoid, the exogenous cannabinoid, can hit the same pathway. Okay, so this is biologically how they can interact. And also this is something that we can demonstrate experimentally as well. Now, I'm a big fan of the C. elegans toxicity model here. So for those of you who haven't heard of this model, it's a tiny worm that you can barely see it, 1 millimeter long. And this is a model that we can use to test toxicity. And what I'm demonstrating in this slide is the dopaminergic neurotoxicity. Okay, like the toxicity that attack the dopaminergic neuron. What you can see here is that in the worm at the head region, this is the dopaminergic neuron, same group of neuron that we also have in human. And then if you combine the cannabinoid and the pesticide copiophos, the whole apparatus can got wiped out, okay? And you can demonstrate this statistically, okay? If you look at the bar here, in the middle, this is to show the dose-dependent effects, like of the copiophos, the pesticide copiophos in C. elegans. And the y-axis here is to show the response time. So as it turns out, how the worm responds to repellent is actually driven by the dopaminergic function. So this is the readout of the dopaminergic neurotoxicity. If you're looking at the bar in the middle, you can see there's a dose-dependent effect. But then if you mix it with the CBD and delta-9 THC, the dose-dependent effect is different. And if you test these two concentrations of the cannabinoid, there's no statistically significant effect. So you only see a change of effect when you mix the two together. So when the take home is, if you having pesticide in cannabis, then the combined effect is not 1 + 1 = 2. All right. Toxic element, also in some regulatory document is listed as heavy metal. Yes. Okay. So now it includes metals such as lead, cadmium, and mercury, and also arsenic. The reason why there are toxic element contaminant in cannabis, there are two major reasons. The first reason is the plant itself can accumulate element from the environment. The second reason is sometimes you have the leakage of toxic element going from the packaged material into the content itself. Now, there's another study by a group from Columbia University in 2023. So basically what they found is that using a national survey, the enhanced data, they found that between 2025 and 2028, the cannabis user, now this is the period where US most of the cannabis use is from the illegal market, okay, have higher serum and urine level of lead and cadmium. Okay, so there's a correlation between cannabis use and the body level and the body content of some toxic element here. Okay, so I also want to bring up a study that my lab had done, in the past year. So I heard that there are questions about phytoremediation. So in this study, what we have done is that we analyze a total of 587 phytoremediation study. So basically, we get the data from this group of study based on 23 different parameters related to phytoremediation. That can be the property of the soil, where the study is done, and so on. And then from this group of paper, we were able to generate 6,674 unique calculation of bioconcentration factor of element, right? So it is the concentration factor of the element in the plant tissue, as you can see right here, versus the concentration in the environment. And you can see that if you compare, we only are comparing 4 different plants: sunflower, castor bean, hemp, and bamboo. And then we were able to find data that covered 27 elements in this group of study. And basically what you can see here is that there's actually a lot of information about hemp, okay, in the open literature. So generally, people generally are interested, in the opportunity of using hemp and phytoremediation, and the data for this species is catching up, as compared to sunflower, which is, the major crop for phytoremediation application. The first category of contaminant is solvent, so it includes butane and propane. And these are residue of extraction process, and it's also a concern for illegal cannabis. Okay, So these three categories of contaminant and also, microbe and mycotoxin, which I will talk about in a bit, how are they regulated in legal cannabis in the US? Now, first of all, because of the illegal status of cannabis, there's no federal regulation of pesticide of contaminant due to the Schedule 1 substance, okay, status of cannabis. With the exception of hemp, of course, which we are talking about here, which is covered by the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act, and this is similar to other agricultural commodity in the US. Now, on the other hand, because the state have legalized cannabis program, so individual state, regulate pesticide use in cannabis as mostly as agricultural and food commodity, and there is a variety of approaches that different states are taking, that that we have looked into, like in a study. Now, what you are seeing here is the total number of environmental contaminants regulated by all 36 states and Washington, D.C. Okay, there's a total of 679 cannabis contaminants that are regulated in all of the state cannabis program, according to the regulatory document. This is the data from 2022. That include 551 pesticides, 74 solvent, 12 inorganic toxic element, and also 26 microbe and mycotoxin. Okay, that's a lot of chemical. Okay, and this is a proportional Sankey diagram. So you will ask, how come there are so many contaminants on this, figure here? The reason why is individual state, regulate anywhere between 60 to 120 contaminant. But there are a lot of disagreement between different states in what to regulate and at which level they are regulated at. Now, we also did a simulation to show, how to visualize how different, the different states are, in regulating environmental contaminant. Using the same batch of 9,000 cannabis sample, we were able to show that, some states, catch most of the contaminant in this batch. But you also have other states that basically, didn't catch, the contaminant because they are not listing those contaminant in their regulation for cannabis testing. Last but not least, I want to talk about microbe and mycotoxin. So cannabis plant, like any other agricultural crop, interact with a community of microbe, so also known as microbiome. And my group published a paper last year talking specifically about fungal and mycotoxin. Okay, so there are only 5 mycotoxins that are currently regulated in legal cannabis. And the regulation and media coverage mostly focus on Aspergillus, but there is one group of microbe and mycotoxin known as Fusarium. So no country and no state in the US are currently require testing for the presence of Fusarium in and their mycotoxin in cannabis. One interesting fact related to this group of toxin is that it actually can produce vomiting effect, which is similar to hyperemesis. So I'm very interested to know, whether we can find this toxin in cannabis, particularly in black market cannabis, which number one, there's very little information about it. And second of all, if you look at the black market cannabis, the size of the black market cannabis market is actually more than legal cannabis market in the US. So that's why we are really interested to know the contamination level in black market cannabis. In this study, we analyzed 20 Aspergillus and Fusarium mycotoxin and feed metabolites in 118 black and gray market cannabis sample. And one way that we can get to this cannabis, illegal cannabis sample is from the US Postal Service. And we also collaborate with the High-Intensity Drug Traffic Area Task Force of Maricopa County Sheriff Office. Most of the illegal cannabis in California is from Arizona. Sorry, most of the illegal, cannabis in Arizona is from California due to their surplus cannabis production. But there are also some illicit cannabis production in Arizona that I'm going to show you guys in a bit. So this is one illicit greenhouse. Okay, so if you look at this greenhouse, like you can see people who set this up, they know what they're doing, right? This is kind of how cannabis are lined up. But you can also see that this is not a properly managed greenhouse with water and algae all over the place. And then if you happen to convert a residential unit into a greenhouse, you will see water damage and bad mold all over. This is my personal favorite. This is how they assemble the illicit cannabis product. And I feel like this is a perfect food microbiology term paper that you can ask students to write in what are the sources of contaminant. So I have 2 more slides. So the fusarium mycotoxin analysis demonstrate that 1 in 6 of the illegal cannabis sample that we have tested have fusarium. But on the other hand, the one that are tested, the Aspergillus mycotoxin that are being tested, they're only 1 detection. So I think, there's some refinement that we can do, related to the mycotoxin regulation for legal cannabis. So to end, I want to reiterate some of the take-home messages, environmental contaminant definitely is a public health concern, and there are room for improvement on how we regulate them in cannabis, like in the US. With that, I would like to end my presentation, and thank you so much.
Questions, because we have one last talk to upload. So if you want to answer questions, you can go ahead with your microphone.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So kind of understand the basis of the take-home messages. One thing that, and I'm not sure if you even know the answer to this, but how do you address those issues? What is a solution? Is it more testing? Is it more data? Is it changing in certain aspects? What's the solution to fix these things?
So I think there are. So what are the solutions to the issue of environmental contaminant? I think there are 3 potential solutions. So I think both the state and federal, government, would need to take leadership in this. With all that's going on, probably a little bit asking too much, to see any changes at the federal level. But you think about the contaminant issue, like right now, the jurisdiction that are enforcing those regulations is the state, right? So, I think, leadership at the state government level, such as Cannabis Regulator Association or association similar to that, would be key. The second solution is the research, because for the fungus, they don't only human care whether it's legal or illegal cannabis. For fungus, these are just plants we're going to grow there, right? So I think there's some research that need to be done to understand the scale of the contamination and also the human health effects. Yeah. And also finally, I think the discrepancy between state and federal definition of cannabis and how they're used and all that, it actually creates some difficulty in how different stakeholders are interacting with each other. For example, right now you go to a clinic, like in Indiana, I think it's even harder for a patient to say that, okay, I'm using cannabis for cancer, right? Not to say it's anything easier in Arizona neither, right? But those kind of discrepancy is preventing different stakeholders to interact with each other, just like what we're doing here today. So I think if we can, resolve those discrepancy, it would also help the problem too.
Thanks.
Thank you.